Okay, episode 4 of Alien Earth titled Observation. First things first, Disney really looked at Baby Yoda and said, cool. But what if it screamed like a dying cicada? Because yes, we now have a baby xenomorph, and I'm convinced some executive heard the cha-ching of merch sales and thought, move over, Groku, a new star is born. And while we're talking about the scene stealers of the episode, we have to get back to Kirsh. I manage to become more and more of a fan every week. He's the most no nonsense character in the show, yet somehow also the most expressive. He's constantly lurking, side eyeing, and observing. Timothy Olyphant is the real heartthrob of this franchise, and no one can convince me otherwise. I'm really hoping he doesn't turn out evil. As I said last week, I think the show has the perfect opportunity to make it look like he's going to be David 2.0 and then do a 180. Now, overall, I really liked this episode. I love the setup, I love the tension, but I'm getting a little antsy for some real action. Still, Observation lived up to its title. The whole thing was about who's watching, who's listening, and what's being ignored. One of the big moments for me is finally getting the breakdown of Wendy's ties to the alien. She describes the sound as bugs rubbing their legs together, and even says the baby was screaming. It's super creepy, and I'm glad they didn't drag out the mystery too long. We also have this big hearing debate. Do they shut off Wendy's ability to hear the Xenos, or let her keep listening? Wendy insists, saying, they picked me, they're talking to me. And I'm interested in this clash between those in the room. Some wanted to protect her, and some wanted her to form this dangerous connection. But the highlight for me was Arthur's warning, where he says, maybe the aliens aren't talking to her at all. They're talking to each other, and now they know she can hear them. I think this was a good flip on the theme of observation because watching and observing isn't one sided. Moving to Morrow and slightly, Morrow manipulates him with more riddles, and stealing an egg becomes restitution. The observation here isn't curiosity, it's surveillance and control. To build on the theme, we also have Kirsh and the three monkeys see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, straight to the heart of the episode's theme. What do you choose to notice and what do you choose to ignore? Another expected high point of the episode for me was Arthur and Sylvia's private conversation. They basically admit, best case scenario, these kids are AIs who think they're human. Worst case scenario, they accidentally killed 6 children. And I have to wonder if they are honestly looking at consequences or choosing to ignore them. Also, we absolutely have to talk about the Nibs I'm pregnant scene. Lily Newmark really nailed how unsettling these child synths are. When she comes for Dame Sylvia's throat, we get another dose of how dangerous kids and synthetic bodies are. I think Nibs will end up the wild card of the series. I'm fully expecting an alien contamination scene coming soon, and I think Nibs will escape her guards and complicate it. Moving to one of the most unsettling moments of the episode is the sheep scene. And this is the type of thing you come to expect in the Alien franchise. When it rears up on its hind legs, I was reeling. But then it all comes back around to the theme of observation again. They look at it, it looks at them, and once again, the observers become the observed. Another standout moment was the showdown between Adam Ines and Joe. Because in this dystopian hellscape, Joe is kept in line in many ways. Ines threatens to send him away from Wendy if he doesn't help observe her. Adam Ines wants to know if Wendy is actually Marcy, and if her memories and senses make her the human she once was. And Joe is basically Prodigy property now that he was given a new lung. He can't walk away, and his autonomy is stripped from him in a snap. And to build on this scene, I have seen some theories questioning if it's possible Boy Cavalier is actually a hybrid himself. And that's why he created the Lost Boys, for companionship. But based on this conversation Joe has with Ines this episode, I think it's much more likely Cavalier is planning to put himself through the same process as the Lost Boys in a way to hoard wealth for the future and never die, outlasting all his competitors. He wants to know if this process would leave him the real Boy Cavalier in a new body or just an artificial synth with a download of his memories, essentially just a copy. Now let's move to some more theories. I'm still convinced the real long game is Boy Cavalier losing his humanity with Kirsh on a parallel but opposite journey, slowly gaining his. Cavalier is all too ready to put the Lost Boys in danger by testing his creations. Meanwhile, Kirsh, who is programmed to obey, continues to show little sparks of curiosity and possibly, just maybe, even care and concern. Like I said last week, I wouldn't be shocked if the climax of his story is choosing to protect the kids, even if it means disobeying Prodigy or hurting Cavalier. Parent versus creator, mission versus morality. Now, the climax of this episode is Wendy's interaction with the newly escaped baby Xeno. Because I love that Boy Cavalier and Prodigy probably burned through trillions of dollars chasing immortality, and so far, they are unsure if the person in there is actually the same person they were. But they did manage to invent a child synth AI who can moonlight as a xenomorph snake charmer. So now let's take a look at the themes here revolving around observation. In this episode, we see observation as a power and a weapon. Who sees, who hears, who knows first, and how that information can be leveraged. Prodigy is always observing and listening. We see the corporate spin and the way it's used to manipulate, similar to Morrow's manipulation of Slightly. We also see observation as a connection. Wendy hears the screams of the alien tadpole. Her observations link her to it, similar to how Wendy was observing her brother in earlier episodes, using it as a way to connect to him. But most importantly, observation and surveillance works both ways. They study the aliens, but the aliens might be studying them too. So yeah, episode 4 was another above average episode, but it left me wanting the next move. I'm loving the setup, but I'm ready for less observation and more obliteration. I'm ready for some big consequences, bigger risks, and big payoff. Alien Earth manages to keep the hints coming, and that in itself is a lot of fun. I'm just ready for what's coming next, which is always a good sign I'm enjoying something. That's it for today. Make sure you like and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll be back next week with episode 5. Keep an eye out for my Meanwhile Elsewhere podcast with Laura, where we will discuss and break down the episode at much more length. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.